So that is a Lagrangian versus the Eulerian approach. So now the question will be like, so what we have done in the fluid mechanics then? What we have done in our fluid mechanics then? There, our faculty or the professors were talking about this Eulerian and the Lagrangian approach, even very much familiar with us. So to conclude that point, also have brought it here. What is a Lagrangian and what is a Eulerian approach? So here on the images, it is being best visualized on the screen, so that it is when the fluid particle, only one fluid particle is being traced, only one fluid particle is being traced. So that type of approach we will call it as a Lagrangian approach. And when it is entire control volume is being considered, and in that the fluid particles or the fluid moves in that the control volume, so that it is called as a Eulerian approach. So whereas a Lagrangian follows only the particle wise approach, whereas the Eulerian follows the bunch of particle lines and their behavior with respect to the time. The bunch of particles, their behavior with respect to the time. And here you can see on the screen the control volume, it is being selected in the Eulerian approach and compared with the Lagrangian approach, where the fluid particle is being taken into consideration. Okay, fine. So that is all about the Lagrangian and the Eulerian approach. Previously you might have studied or you might have understood about this one. So we'll not leave this behind, but we are just going for the advanced approach to this one, or we are going ahead approach than the Eulerian and the Lagrangian approach. So that we are going to see it in the next slide or the next point. Now, so how do I approach to the fluid flow problems? So the fluid flow approaches, as far as the fluid flow approaches are considered, so there are here on the screen you can see there I have four images completely. One image which is combined with the two has a name written a labeled A, another one is labeled B, So one is labeled A and another one is labeled B. Okay, so in that labeled A image I have a control surface, and I have a control volume even. So let me annotate it on that. I have a control surface and I have a control volume, control surface and the control volume. Here on that one you can see that the fluid particles are moving inside the control volume, right? And over the control surface is also moving in this case, right? So control volume and the control surface both are moving with respect to the particles. And whereas in the second case if you see, so here in the second case, so where the control volume and the surface are being fixed. Here in this image, the control volume and the control surface is being fixed. Only the fluid particles which are entering and leaving out. So that is the fixed and the moving approach. This is actually fixed and the moving approach, right? Fixed and the moving approach. If my volume is fixed, only the particles are moving out in that. If my volume is fixed, only the particles are entering and leaving out from that particular fluid flow. If my control volume also moves, that it is a fixed volume moving approach, and here it is moving volume, moving volume and moving fluid approach, that is the difference in between these two. So but both are having, so what is the answer for this one is, that is a finite control volume approach. This is a finite control volume approach. Now on the other side, B bit, can you answer this one? What is this approach is? So this approach is finite infinitesimal elemental approach or infinitesimal volume approach. This is completely, it is an infinitesimal elemental approach, that is infinitesimal fluid element approach. So whereas in this, comparing the finite control volume to the infinitesimal fluid element approach, you can see here in this again we are going within a fixed volume approach. Initially the volume is fixed, only the fluid is traveling, so the volume is being fixed here in this one. And in the second case, the volume is moving with respect to the fluid. So that is the fixed volume and moving volume. But this is under the infinitesimal element approach, and this is a finite control volume approach and the infinitesimal fluid element approach, right? So in this whatever the governing equations we are going to obtain for both, we are going to obtain the governing equation for this, that is for the moving as well as the fixed control volume approach. But when it is a fixed volume approach, either it is finite or infinite, when it is a fixed volume approach, we are going to obtain the conservative form equations. And when it is when it is the moving models, it is going to be non-conservative form equations. When it is the moving models, it is going to be non-conservative form equations. So the fixed models, we are going to get the conservative form of equations, and moving models are going to get in a non-conservative form of equations. Now people will be murmuring behind, sir, what is this again? Conservative form and non-conservative form. What is the difference in between these two? Right. So the difference in between the conservative and the non-conservative form is a time variable we are going to consider here in this one. With respect to the time variable, even the our variables are going to vary, like pressure, density, and temperature. They are going to vary with respect to the time. Every parameter, if you are relating with respect to the time, that is going to be on a non-conservative form. And if you are considering it in the fixed space in the coordinate system, then it is going to be on a conservative form. Okay, so is it clear about the fixed models and the moving models types of approach? So let us go ahead in this one. Now, talking about the physical principles, so just we have already discussed about those physical principles. How do we approach to a problem? By applying these physical principles. So generally, the physical principle applications involves 3 steps. First, set up a fundamental principle. Then next, applying for a particular model, and then extract the mathematical equation which embodies or which matches to our requirements of the physical principles. That is what the 3 steps we have already discussed, and finally we have concluded where it has the continuity, momentum, and the energy equations, which are forming the governing equations for the fluid flows. Right. And fixed equations, when you are going for the fixed equations, there are definitely going to be some errors even involved in that one. And finally, we are going to derive these governing equations, and next step we are going to apply the boundary condition to apply to its problems or to apply it to the physical models. Now, next, before going to this governing equations, before approaching to the governing equations, we should be clear about this, what exactly the substantial derivative is, what is the divergence is, what is the curl is, what is the gradient is. Because previously, I think your previous professors might have already discussed about these things, but here it is again required for us. We have supposed to know what exactly this substantial derivative is. What is the substantial derivative is? It describes about the change of the fluid flow properties. Right? Like temperature, density, pressure, or the velocity with respect to the trajectory, or with respect to the path of the moving fluid element. Right? So it's only the temporal approach where it is based upon the time it is being varying. So it encompasses that spatial temporal information within a single framework. In a single framework, we are being addressed how exactly the fluid is being moving in that one. Right? The fluid is being moving in that one. Okay. Okay, fine. So somebody has a question like, what is the major difference in between the finite control volume or the infinitesimal control volume, moving approach and the fixed approach? See, whereas the volume, when it is being fixed, so that means we are addressing at that instant only. That means the spatial derivatives are already fixed in that one. Only the fluid derivatives are going to vary. Whereas in the moving control volume approach, the spatial derivative is varying with respect to the time. So that means x, y, z, comma t, dx by dt, dy by dt, dz by dt. So that every variable is varying again with respect to the time, and again it is d rho by ds. That is spatially that variable is also moving. That is the difference between a fixed and the moving control volume approach. Right. So that is what I mentioned about it. Now, mathematically to talk about what exactly this substantial derivative is. What exactly the substantial derivative, as we have mentioned, that it is varying with respect to the, and it is varying change involved in that one. So that is a change which is involved in that one. So the variables which are changing along the fluid trajectory, that is being addressed as a substantial derivative for that. So if somebody questions what is the substantial derivative, a substantial derivative can be defined by d rho by dt, that is rho 2 minus rho 1 by t2 minus t1, where t represents the time and rho represents the density. So this d rho by dt gives us instantaneous change happened in that particular fluid flow because of that particular fluid flow movement from a point 1 to the point 2. Maybe the trajectory we can decide like this. So don't worry about that, what exactly the point 1 here indicates, something else. So here if it is your point 1 and somewhere your point 2, when it is moving from point 1 to the point 2, whether the density has been changed or not, that we have to understand. So that is in the substantial derivative can be easily defined as a d rho by dt, where it is rate of change of density with respect to the time, or it can be any variable, like that. Okay, so that. So we will discuss better about the substantial derivative with an example. So here what I have taken is I have taken an example of a sensed rate of changes. Sensed rate of changes. I think everyone are very clear about what exactly a wing is. So we all know that around the moves around the wing. So that wing is, if you are considering that wing as a static, initially if we consider that the wing as static, and here you can see as in the representation in this video, here the one pitot tube is measuring that pressure probe. So that is being represented as a P2 of T. So that the pressure measured on this pitot tube, that is a P2 of T. So where at the wing location at time T is equal to T naught. And in the second location you can see, so where the wing is moving from this location, so where the pressure measured on the pitot tube, but the pitot tube is attached to the wing location, and both the pitot tubes are going to read it in the different ways. So how that is going to happen? Right. So initially we need to understand what is the sensed rate of changes here in this one. Note, although these two sensors measure the same instantaneous static pressure at the same point, but the time rates are being different. Right. So when this wing location moves and exactly matches to this particular location, that is wing of T. That is pressure measured on this particular port 1 at the time T variable. If you see, it is being fixed with respect to the time. So here on the horizontal scale I have fixed within a time, and on the vertical scale I kept within a pressure. So on this particular line, when we are measuring the pressure, so with respect to the P1 of T, that is a time variable, the pressure is being measured. It is always showing you the same value. But when the same wing is being moving, when it is displaced from a time location, so that is when you are changing with respect to the time. So here we have noticed that there is a change in that particular pressure varied when your wing is moving close to this location and away from that location. So at an instant of T is equal to T naught, at an instant, so that the P1 of T, that's the pressure port P1 and pressure port P2, when they are got a very close when they are brought up very closely, so there is a sensed change in the pressure has been measured. So this is what the image representation here in this one. So although the location from the wing to the pitot tube location, it is same, that is P1 of T naught to P2 of T naught of the time, but the instantaneous change of the time which has made the wing to move from one location to the other location during the time travel has made that change in the pressure on the port 1 to the change in the pressure on the port 2, that is not equal. Okay, change in the time, so that means change with respect to the times are not equal. But if you are not changing the time, if the T naught is equal to T naught, if the T is equal to T naught and T naught is equal to T naught, at that location both will be representing the same pressure, and on the same constant line it will be moving. So the P2 of T, so which is, if you have any questions related to this, please put it in the chat box, we'll discuss. Right. So when we are talking about the P2 of T naught, so there is whenever at the point it is representing the same pressure is again varied. The pressure sensing is again varied there in that case. Okay. Okay, so that is what about the is concerned. So we are talking about the sensed rate of changes when the wing is moving from the time with respect to the time to how it is varying in this one. So that is the pressure change with respect to the time we are noticing here in this one. Okay, so now here in this one, what we have done in the second case is first one we have kept at the sensed rate of changes. Now here in the second case, you just see we are continuously changing that the sensor drift with local velocity. Sensor drifting, so that means we are moving the pitot tube with respect to the wing. Wing is stationary, so that means wing pressure field generated, it is same, but what I am doing is continuously I am shifting my sensor from one location to the other location. So here in this my case again the PS of time, so that means with respect to the XYZ location my pressure probe is varying. So remember this point, from the previous point to this point, my pressure probe is moving with respect to the time here in this one. Okay, my pressure probe is continuously making with respect to the time and with respect to the space variable XYZ. I am moving my probe only, so that we will call it as a drifting sensor. So for that one, how do I mathematically address that one is, so the x spatial variable with respect to the time along the x direction, the velocity if it is changing, then it is dx by dt. Generally the velocity will be defined by the distance by the time. The velocity generally defined as a distance by the time. So here the distance along the x direction is x, along the spatial variables, along the spatial derivative, that is x, y, z, comma t. Okay, that is x direction, x, y, z, and t. Similarly in the y direction, similarly in the z direction. These are the three directions of this. That means the rectangular coordinate frame we are following it. In that one, the sensor location is continuously shifting from one location to the other location. Right? Not in the previous case, not like the previous case. Here in this case, the sensor itself is moving. The sensor itself is moving. Here the sensor itself is moving from the location 1 to the location 2. The sensor itself is moving from the location 1 to the location 2. So here on this path line you can see that the sensor movement. So this we will call it as a drifting sensor. This we will call it as a drifting. So sensor drifting with a local velocity. Sensor drifting with a local velocity. So when we are seeing that sensor itself moving, so that means moving, it should have some velocity induced in that one. So that we are representing with a capital V bar. So why we are writing capital V bar? Because every time I don't want to write it as UVW. Just for that one reason, I am writing it as V bar. So that is the velocity addressing all the three directions of the velocity is being addressed in this one. So this is a drifting sensor, and what is my objective is to measure again the pressure varying with respect to the time. My objective is again pressure varying with respect to the time, but here in this case the wing is being fixed. And when I drifting the sensor, so when I'm moving my sensor, you just see again did we get the same answer from the previous one? Whatever the previous characteristics, it has been resulted with respect to the moving wing and with the drifting sensor, the result is represented same. The result has represented the same. So previous case also we have represented with a dp by dt, and here also it is again dp by dt, but where the dps by dt, where it is varying with respect to the spatial derivative, or where it is varying with the spatial coordinate system. The sensor moves inside the field, and there we are measuring the instantaneous variation of the velocity. We are measuring the instantaneous variation of the velocity. Here we are discussing about that the drifting sensor, where the pressure, the spatial derivative we have taken it, spatial derivative with respect to the time, and that spatial derivative with respect to that is the distance by the time, that means we are addressing the velocity in each and every direction. So let me address this, the pressure variation with respect to the time, as P of x direction with respect to the time variable, y direction with respect to the time variable, and z direction with respect to the time variable, and again general total variables with respect to the time variable, which we have addressed it as dx by dt, dy by dt, and dz by dt. So this we have considered it as a drifting sensor. Now you just see here it is a beautiful example for the substantial derivative definition. Now the time rate of change of P of S of t, so that is the pressure variation with respect to the time, can be computed from the one, so that is using the chain rule. So how I have written it is dps of dt, so that the pressure variation with respect to the time, so the pressure variation with respect to the time, when we see it here in this one, the pressure variation with respect to the time when we see it, so I have written it as dps by dt as in the partial derivatives. I have written it in terms of the partial format. Dou p by dou x, that is the partial variation along the x direction. So partial variation along the x direction, only along the x direction, only along the y direction, only along the z direction. I have mentioned it here. And with respect to the time in that direction of time. Right. So that means partially I have touched it. So the differential equation I have written in the partial format. So that is dou p by dou x is by dou t. Dou p by dou t has remained same. Just I have introduced dx by dou x. That means the partial terms will get dou x will get cancelled, and my same term dps by dt will remain as same. So just I have rewritten this equation in terms of my time and the spatial derivatives. In terms of the time and the spatial derivatives. Okay, this is the time and the spatial derivatives. Now, since the x by dt and y by dt and z by dt are simply the local fluid components, so this can be represented. Can I write it as dx by dt as u? Yes. Dy by dt as v? Yes. Dz by dt as w? Yes. So then my total term of the expression, that is the time rate of change of the pressure with respect to the time, can be expressed as dps by dt is equal to dou p by dou t plus, this is the expression I have brought it here in this first one, dou p by dou t plus u. So that is dx by dt has converted to the u. So dx by dt has converted to the u. U dou p by dou x plus v dou p by dou y, w dou p by dou z, which is actually equivalent to the substantial derivative of, that is the total derivative of dp by dt. That's the total derivative of the dp by dt. So but here what we have to understand is that in the order of computation what we have made, or in the order of framing, so this dou p by dou t plus u dou p by dou x plus v dou p by dou y plus w dou p by dou z is approximately equal to dp by dt. We must know that here the p is varying with the spatial derivatives or the spatial coordinate systems of x, y, z and the t in the field variables, but the velocity components can also be addressed with respect to the u, v, w. So that is the x, y, z. X, y, z direction velocity variation we have represented with a u, v, w. Okay, this is all about the substantial derivative we have computed in that previous, or we have discussed about the substantial derivative, what exactly it is. Okay, the substantial derivative we have obtained in that one. And see, now this has become a standard example for the substantial derivative. So that means we can use this as a pressure example, and the substantial derivative can be computed as like in the previous slide we have seen. So that is dp by dt is approximately dp by dt u into dou p by dou x dou p by dou y v w into dou p by dou z. So that is x, y, z, and this is with respect to the one, it is a time derivative, another one it is a velocity local derivative, that is right. So this variable can be anything here in this one. So that is the reason I left the bracket as simple. The bracket is open here in this one. So that can be any variable. It can be like pressure, or it can be density, or it can be even the temperature. So what we have to notice in this one is, so here this dou t by dou t, so that where is the temperature, where the t, capital T represents temperature and small t represents the time. That is actually the local derivative, and v dot del represents the convective derivative. The convective derivative here in this expression is this complete u dou of dou x, v dou of dou y, w dou of dou z. These are all convective derivatives. So when we expand it again, we'll get the same substantial derivative of the example. We'll get the substantial derivative definitions. This is what the simple way of expressing the substantial derivative. Why do we go it? So now it comes to the conclusion about the substantial derivative, why the substantial derivative is required. So substantial derivatives are required when your problem is varying with respect to the time, and at the same time when your problem, or when your solution or the result is varying with respect to the spatial derivative. Time and the spatial derivative, when both need to be addressed, we will be dependent upon this substantial derivatives, where it can address the local convective acceleration as well as the local derivative as well as the convective derivative. So that is a complete fluid flow problem can be addressed with a, when that it is having a moving and when it is having a fixed. So that can be addressed with the local as well as the convective derivatives. Both can be obtained using the substantial derivative example. So in the next session we will be discussing about these definitions required for the next, for our governing equations. Okay.